Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evelyn of Pink Sheep Design, and today we are here for a quick tutorial. I don't know how quick it'll be. We'll see about that. But I wanted to talk about crochet ribbing. So you see the ribbing along the bottom of this top. A lot of times crochet ribbing can stretch out. As you can see, this is another one of my crocheted creations. This is my low tide tee, and as you can see, the ribbing is about as wide as the top, which doesn't really do much if you're actually looking for the ribbing to create shape. So this is another top that I made, and as you can see, if I pull on it, it snaps right back. What magic is this? So I looked up some different options, and I figured out how to add an elastic thread crocheting. So you don't have to use a machine, you don't have to use sewing skills. All you need is a crochet hook and some elastic thread from Walmart or the craft store. I will show you what that looks like when I flip the camera around, because I don't have it in my hand right here. But we are going to learn how to do this today. So if you are interested, you are going to need some elastic thread, a small crochet hook. I would say it does depend on the size of the item. This shirt, for instance, I believe I may have used like a 4mm crochet hook for that. So we'll talk about that too. And you'll need some scissors, and that's it. So we're going to flip the camera around and get started. All right, guys, we are here to learn how to put a crocheted ribbing elastic into crocheted ribbing to give it a little more elasticity so that it's going to snap back and it doesn't just get stretched out. So you guys can see this is what it looks like on the inside. And I tried to go not in the center, but just that one row up from the bottom, so that way it's not visible when you're wearing it. An elastic thread, as far as I can tell, it hasn't had any issues on my skin. So this doesn't, this is setting right up against my skin and it's not causing any issues for me. It's pretty soft for just being plain old elastic thread. And this is what it looks like. So if you're gonna buy it, it comes on this kind of bobbin here. I think I just got mine at Walmart, but this is just the super thin elastic thread that you can purchase. You don't have to get the big chunky stuff. You can get this really thin style of threading. So I talked about it a little bit in the intro. The hook size that you use depends on the size of the project. So I would recommend sizing down from the hook size that you used in your project. Now, I can't remember. I probably maybe used like an 8mm hook on this ribbing, maybe a 7 or an 8mm hook. So I most likely used a 3 or a 4mm hook for the elastic ribbing. If I remember correctly, I did not write it down. So we're going to see what happens on this next one. So this is the one I finished. I'm going to show you guys. This is the one that we are going to be working on today. So this ribbing has 0 snapback. It is completely just stretched to the max. It is just as wide as the rest of the project. So I want it to have a little bit more actual ribbing feel. So we're going to be working into the inside of the project. So I am, for the sake of this video, I think I may end up flipping it all the way, but I'm just going to flip it up like this. So instead of it being down here, I'm just going to flip it up so we can do that this way. So instead of working all the way down here at the bottom, this is that first row, I'm going to work into the second row. Now, I believe, again, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that I used a 15mm hook for this ribbing here, right? I'm a pretty tight stitcher, so that would make sense for me. It was at least a 14, so a 15 or 14mm hook. So I'm going to size down to a 6mm hook, and I'm going to use this Susan Bates style hook here to do the ribbing. So I'm going to take my ribbing just like I would yarn, which is great. You don't have to pre-measure and cut and hope that you get it right, because you're doing it like crochet, which makes it a lot easier. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit of room here, and I'm going to create a slip knot just like I would if I was starting a crochet project. Now, this can be a little tricky to work with because, again, it's stretchy. I don't think most of us are used to working with stretchy yarn, not this stretchy. So let's get the hook in there. And I'm going to tighten that up, that stitch knot, that slip knot, tighten up the slip knot on the hook. And then I'm going to start by, again, not the first row, but the second row, and I'm going to work underneath. You can see the bumps, all right? So we've got the bumps here, and I'm going to work underneath both of the bumps in each of these ribbing sections, all right? So these two, the next row would be here, and then here, and you're going to work across. So I've placed my hook underneath that. I'm going to try, again, it's harder for me to handle this because it's not crocheted. It's not yarn, it's thread, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap my finger like I usually do. And I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to pull up a loop, and I'm going to yarn over again, and I'm going to pull through both loops on my hook. And it may take some finagling to get that right. All right, so from here, you're going to chain one, and then you're going to insert your hook into that next set of ribbing, all right? Now, you don't want to pull it too tight, but you also don't want it super, super loose. So you can kind of play around with that as you go. If you get a few rows and you realize that it's a little tighter than you'd like it to be, you can obviously frog back just like you would crocheting. So you're just doing that chain one in between, inserting your hook, yarn over, pull through, creating a single crochet, and then chaining one and working another single crochet. There we go. Do one more in slow motion, and I'll probably speed the video up a little bit, and I'll work all the way around with you. But that is what you're looking at right there. So that is going to allow you to have an actual working ribbing instead of what just looks like ribbing and is instead stretched out. So this will give you that real feel of a true working ribbed edge. All right, so I'm going to continue to work around. And like I said, I'll probably speed that up, but I do want you guys to actually see that whole process. All right, we have gotten to the last few, so you can see where I started here. So I'm going to slow it back down. And I do feel like something helpful as you're working through this is to kind of let the elastic slip through your grip every now and then if you feel like it's getting a little too tight. You know, don't let it stay super loose, but you can allow it to kind of slip through. You can kind of loosen your grip a little bit as you're working through the sections. And I found that, you know, as my tension, I could kind of feel the elastic getting a little tight, and you don't want that. So I just allowed it to kind of slip through a little bit, and it loosened some of those stitches up. So just a little feedback as I was working through this. This is only the second time I have actually done this, so I am learning as well. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I will be monitoring that so I can get back to you if I can help at all. All right, so I am back to the beginning. So you can see this was my last one. This is the very first one that I started on. So I'm going to work into that same space underneath those starting two pieces, pulling that yarn through, same thing, working a single crochet stitch. All right, and then from here, I think what I'm probably going to do is work a slip stitch underneath this piece just as an additional precaution. So there's my slip stitch. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and cut my elastic thread. And you get quite a lot of this. I mean, if you get one, it's going to last you a long time, you know, unless you're just making lots and lots of clothing that's got ribbing that you want to use this for, you'll be able to use it for quite a while. So I'm going to pull that fairly tight, and then I'm going to pull that through to complete it. And then because you start where you finish, it makes it really easy for you to create a knot to end your work. So I'm going to wrap it once, wrap it twice, pull it tight, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Wrap it once, wrap it twice, pull it tight. There we go. And I'm going to snip that. And there you are. You are all done. So if I lay this flat now, I can actually fit the entire ribbing on screen now, whereas before it was so stretched out I couldn't do that. And if I stretch it out, it's going to stretch out a little bit, but it's definitely going to try to snap back way more than it did before. So I could probably have gone a little tighter. So again, I do think that it's going to take time to like figure out how tight you want it to be. So you could either pull your elastic a little bit tighter or go with a smaller hook size if you want to. Trial and error at its best. But let's try this on so you guys can see what it looks like now. Here we are. This is the finished top with the added ribbing. So if I pull, it's actually going to snap back. It's not just going to get stretched out and fall down over my shorts. It's actually going to hold its shape. And you can see what that looks like underneath here. You can't see it through the fabric, which is great. I think you might be able to find elastic thread in different colors, at least in like a black and a white. So depending on the shade of your yarn, if it's lighter or darker, you can choose, you know, maybe you get one of each just to have in your notions collection in case you need it. But I'm super happy with this technique. I will tell you, I did try to just run elastic around it, but it would snap. It didn't have this kind of give. So it really makes a difference doing this kind of crochet style technique to give it that true ribbing and elastic feel. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any more future tutorials, yarn roundups, yarn reviews, all of those fun crochet shenanigans. And until next time, happy hooking!